life, they say the only certainties are death and taxes. In episode 9, we consider the importance of leaving a legacy and how best to do so. With the advent of the worldwide pandemic, all of us have been reminded of our own mortality. And this is relative to our finances as well. When you consider that over the last 2 years, so many people we have lost to this terrible disease, what remains are people who need to continue living and who need to find a way to continue from a financial perspective, something that they may not have been prepared for before. Of course, life insurance is of huge value when it comes to dealing with your own legacy. But that is not it. There are many other aspects that we need to consider. How does one make sure that when you are no longer around, that your wishes are honored? One does that by ensuring that you have a will in place. That would be the first step to making sure that whatever it is you would like to happen with your finances when you are no longer around is actually honored. I say it's one of the best ways to make sure that that which you would like to have happen happens. But you also need to bear in mind that wills are contested, and just because you have indicated what your wishes are does not mean that those who remain behind will be willing to honor those. So what is a will? A will is a unilateral document that outlines for those who remain exactly how you would like your assets dealt with. And it is the surest method to ensure that your assets are dealt with in line with your latest wishes. What does it take for a will to be valid? First of all, it must be signed on every single page by the testator, in other words, the person making the will, as well as the 2 witnesses, all of whom need to be over the age of 16. It is also extremely important to ensure that anyone who is going to benefit from your will does not sign the will, because that could have it be invalid. It is said that it is extremely important for you to have a will in each of the countries where you have assets. If we take into account the Namibian situation, let's say you have a house, an investment property, and a vehicle, you would want to be sure that these assets are distributed after your passing in the manner that you deem best. Let's have a look at the example of having land as an asset. Some people who have farms would like to distribute the farm in equal portions to their beneficiaries. This might not always be possible, depending on the size of the portions and also depending on various legislation applicable to land, depending on whether it's agricultural land, etc. When preparing your legacy, there are a number of considerations that one must take into account. You could be married in community of property, which would impact how you are able to distribute your estate. You could be married above or below the red line, which would have further implications for your estate. Various traditions and cultures directly impact how you can actually deal with your own assets. Because these areas can be quite vast and complicated to deal with, it is encouraged that you actually deal with a professional who understands not only your wishes, but also the legislation surrounding various assets to ensure that you can actually give effect to your wishes in your will. For this, you may want to consult your own financial advisor or financial planner. Alternatively, you might want to make use of the services of a practicing lawyer, or another alternative would be to contact the trust department of the financial institution that houses your primary account, and they would be able to assist you to ensure that you give the greatest effect to your wishes, so that as far as possible and in line with the law, these may be carried out. In our previous episode, we did consider the benefits of life insurance products. And when it comes to leaving a legacy, this is really where you can see the benefit of life insurance. Not only can you cater for liquidity in the estate by making sure that a portion of your life insurance actually pays out to your estate in your own name, which, yes, would leave that insurance product to be subject to executors and masters fees, which can go up to 3.5%. But at the same time would ensure that there is liquidity available in the estate to allow those who remain after your demise to actually continue with dealing with the day-to-day expenses. This is not the only value for life insurance. A life insurance is a great benefit in ensuring that you have liquidity available in the winding up of your estate. There are certain administrative expenses that exist when winding up an estate. That includes your executor's fees as well as your master's fees. And there's some administrative expenses over and above that through your agent, etc., that can really add quite a costly base to the finalizing of your estate. Life insurance can act as a great benefit for those dependents who remain after your passing on. You could actually have a life insurance product or a death benefit pay directly to your beneficiaries. One of the greatest benefits of a life insurance product is to add beneficiaries on it. What that would mean is instead of the life insurance proceeds being payable to your estate, which would attract executors and master's fees, that benefit would pay directly to the person whom you would like to ensure is taken care of. This could be for your minor children, this could be for your surviving spouse, or whomever else is important to you and you want to ensure does not have to deal with unnecessary financial challenges after your passing. So let's imagine that we have a huge life insurance payout that would be payable to your minor children after death. Now, these children under the age of 18 benefit from a product, but this product pays out, say, for example, 10 million Namibian dollars. Are those funds going to pay directly to a minor child? No. They would either pay to the guardian, or the alternative is to have the proceeds made payable to a trust. Those proceeds can be made payable to an inter vivos trust. This trust is set up during the lifetime of the founder at a cost of about between 5,000 and 10,000 Namibian dollars currently. And this trust can receive assets whilst the founder is still alive. The alternative is what we call a testamentary trust. This trust is set up in the will and only comes into play after the passing of the founder, and can cater for receiving life cover benefits, a house. It's always extremely challenging to speak about the leaving of a legacy. It requires us to sit down critically and take the time to be really clear about what it is that we would like to have said about us once we are no longer around, and how best we would like our assets distributed thereafter. Of course, it doesn't happen in a day, and your estate still needs to be administered. Administering an estate can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. And in fact, depending on how easily or how well it has been set up, it can take many years to finalize. It is therefore extremely important to ensure that when you plan for leaving a legacy, you do so regularly. So every 2 years, review your will, have a sense of how things work out practically, and ensure that it actually meets your final wishes. The loss of a loved one is probably the most devastating consequence that most of us know in this life. How do we make it easier on those who remain after us? We do so by ensuring that we've put in place as much as we can to make the financial prejudice, which comes over and above the emotional challenge that we face on the loss of a loved one, as little as possible. Last and final tip would be to ensure that you actually put together what we call a sunset file. A sunset file would house all of your important financial information in a safe space, and you would share this information with someone you truly trust, someone whom you know would make sure that even when you are no longer around, the information is available, the information is correct, and that the information speaks to what your greatest wishes are. What would this file contain? It would contain your various passwords for social media. It would contain all your important documents, your contracts for insurance, your deeds of transfer for various properties, etc., etc. So all of these documents you would want to house in one safe place, because these are the kinds of challenges that make an estate so long to wind up, because we're unable to find the supporting documents that we need in order to attend to the final wishes of the testator. You could include a statement, your bank statement, your various bank account details. Think of your accountant, your medical practitioner, emergency contact number, and so many different documents that would make dealing with your passing as easy as possible. Leaving a legacy is probably one of the most important things that matters to us when it comes to our finances. Please make sure that you give it the necessary time and attention, and keep going back to it. As challenging as it is, you might not be able to get everything done in one sitting. You might want to leave a letter of instruction to those who are going to be dealing with your estate. Dealing with these final moments will have you face your own mortality. But of course, it's far easier to make sure that people have everything that they need to deal with what's coming than for them to be left destitute and uncertain of the future. So please take the time, make the effort. Once your sunset file is ready, you would want to review this at least every 2 years to ensure that it still contains the most relevant documentation and that it still houses your most important and your latest wishes.